I've been witnessing a rather curious situation at our meetings. Occasionally, an icebreaker takes the stage and dives headfirst into the speech. And he or she concludes the speech, sometimes, with either "thank you" or "thank you for your attention." Often, an experienced member takes the stage after that, or approaches the speaker in person and says something like, "I loved your speech, but never say thank you when you're concluding your speech." Dear Mr. Where's the president?
Here.
Dear Mr. President, fellow Toastmasters and guests. Let's suppose that we do sign up for the idea, even though, in my personal opinion, it is somewhat arguable. A natural question rises then. What should we use if we can't say thank you at the end of our speeches? And indeed, could you please give me some ideas? What can we use instead of thank you to conclude our speech?
That's it.
That's it.
That's it, great. That's all, great.
Here is what I want to inform to you.
Let's draw the line.
Too difficult. That's it.
Here's
That's
my
all.
idea.
Amen.
Here's my
Amen.
Enjoy.
And so,
Thank you. I believe we have collected enough variants to how we can conclude our speeches. For those who are interested in public speaking, and I believe if you are here today, you are probably interested in public speaking. Learning how to conclude the speech is valuable information. I've personally been interested in the subject for quite some time, and I've been researching other sources for some valuable information. Luckily, some time ago I stumbled upon a book titled Public Speaking Practice and Ethics by Jason Wrench. Jason Wrench is a doctor of education and an assistant professor in the communications and media department at the State University of New York. Today I want to share some of the information I learned from the book, and I will start with defining a term first, and I'll follow by telling you about 3 universal ways to conclude your speech and give you some examples. Before I go to the meat of my speech, speaking about ways to conclude a speech, let's define a term. How do we call something that we use immediately at the end of our speeches? The authors offer the term concluding device, a concluding device. And they say that there is a number of concluding devices. What is interesting though, that in this number of concluding devices there is a subset of so-called universal concluding devices. And what do I mean by a universal concluding device? It is a concluding device that you can use when you deliver a persuasive and entertaining, or which is very valuable in informative speech as well. And the first concluding device I want to tell you about is a quotation. Sometimes you find a rather good quote by a famous person who everybody knows and respects. To give you an example how a quote can be used in an informative speech or persuasive speech. Suppose that I'm here to deliver a persuasive speech about conclusions, that conclusions are valuable for speeches. In this case, I could have quoted Friedrich Nietzsche. He said that, and let me remember what he said. I was young back then. The end of a melody is not its goal, but nonetheless, had not the melody reached its end, it wouldn't have achieved its goal either. Perhaps not all of you were impressed with me using the quote to conclude the speech. There is a second way to conclude your speech, which is a question, a rhetorical question. You use it when you want to leave your audience thinking about your topic after the speech. And I'll use it to conclude my speech today. And the third rather interesting way to conclude your speech is supposed to mean inspiration. And you can inspire people in different ways. You can use a quote to inspire people. You can use a personal story about fighting a fire-breathing dragon by yourself. You can use a poem. To give you an example from the book, a speaker in the United States was delivering a speech about domestic violence in the United States. And to conclude his speech, or her speech, I'm not sure, he or she used a poem titled I Got Flowers Today. The poem was about a woman who was constantly beaten by her husband. And every time he beat her, he sent her flowers afterwards. And the poem concluded with the lines which roughly read that today I got a lot of flowers because today is my funeral. You use... It's not supposed to be funny. You use this type of concluding device. That's not a problem. You use this type of concluding device when you want to leave your audience feeling in some certain way after your speech. So just as promised, I told you about 3 universal ways to conclude your speech. The first one, a quotation. The second one, a question. And the third one, inspiration. An inspirational story, quotation, a poem. And the question I wanted to leave you today with is, how are you going to conclude your speech the next time you deliver it?
It was well done. Don't forget this ugly default.